We're going to do our best, keep this tight. So let's get started. I am very excited to welcome Alli Phillips and Michael Simpson from PAIRIN. They have a really exciting new platform that when we heard about it, immediately thought we've got to figure out a way to share this with our network, and that really pushed the conversation around what Basecamp might look like. So it's great that we get to start with them and kick things off. So Alli, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Alli from PAIRIN, and I am just a quick introduction. I spent 4 years at McKinsey helping drive big government change and transformation. So like post 9/11 change at the FBI and post-war change with the government of Iraq. And so learned a lot about the levers of government. And since then I've been working on trying to help the levers of education and workforce in our governments here in the US through technology. So I will share my screen and very quickly tell you about the technology that we're working on now. So this is a typical state systems infrastructure, or potentially it's typical K-12 district systems infrastructure, where there's all these different systems that grew up around all these different agencies and regulatory mandates and different politicians or budgets or the tasks that we're trying to get completed. It did not grow up around the needs of a user. So a user, a student, or an adult who has lost their job, they may have all kinds of different needs at once. They may need to find education. They may need to find services. They may need to find a job. And each one of the different information systems involved is in charge of a different piece of that. So as a user, it can be really hard to navigate and hard to figure out where to start, where to go next. And similarly, as a professional trying to help those people in the system, that can also be very, very difficult. So a lot of people have said, we need to replace all of this, but that just turns out to be completely impractical. You can't get the procurement to align. You can't get the politics to align. And so what we have created is a way to make this become personalized without having to replace it all. So a navigation layer that goes over the top of all of this, and we call that navigation layer My Journey. And it presents all different sorts of things that are in that colorful soup to the user in a context that the user can understand. So how does that work? So there's 3 pieces to it: personalization engine, a content framework, and integrated tools. And I'll go through each one of those real quickly. The personalization engine is a series of questions that we ask the user on their way into the system or while they're using the system, and then a set of logic that gets triggered by their answers to those questions. And we work with our clients to curate what these questions are and what that logic is to align with the priorities of their community. So for example, we have clients that are focused on helping high school kids explore their options after high school. And so they may ask questions that are quite different from our clients that are helping adults navigate, let's say, unemployment insurance or what other benefits they might be entitled to. So the questions and the logic are fully customizable to be able to focus on that community's priorities. And then there's the content framework. So after you engage with the questions and the logic, you can be served what we call an outcome by the system based on your answers to the questions. Or a school counselor, a professional in the system, a case manager, a school counselor could assign you that outcome. So this is an outcome here, Participate in College Application Month, that was written by our clients in Colorado. Actually, this is an early draft. They changed it to Colorado Applies Month because they wanted to broaden the scope of what kids are looking at after high school beyond just, I have to go to college. So you can see they have a variety of things here. Think about 2-year, think about 4-year, think about military. And again, just like those questions, this content is fully customizable. So a lot of states and districts, workforce programs, they already have a bunch of this content. It's just like in 2,700 PDFs that you have to click on all over the place to try to figure out how it works. This allows you to present it in a context for someone based on what you know their situation is, or based on what the subject matter experts that work to help them know the situation is. So Participate in Colorado Applies Month is the outcome. Explore 2-year colleges is the goal. And then all these steps over here to the right, those are the steps. And that's meant to walk the user very specifically through what they are to do. So in this case, the state of Colorado is recommending that these high school kids first start, one of the steps is to learn about careers. So they want them to go out and take the career cluster survey. So this button would click out to the career cluster survey. And then they want to know whether or not the child did the homework. So they say, upload some evidence of what you did. So in this case, that evidence is, tell me what your first and second career cluster is that you're most excited about. And that way the professional can see how far did that person get, where do I need to engage with them to help them, and they can use their in-person time more meaningfully. So that leads me, very nice segue, to the third piece, which is the connected or integrated tools. And we have a number of tools in our system that can be connected in through steps. So we have a skills survey, skills curriculum, coaching package, career search package. But a lot of that colorful spaghetti that I showed you at the front works really well. So if school counselors or teachers or caseworkers have assessments that they love, then we can just link out to that assessment and then bring the person back and have them upload the receipt or the printout or whatever that assessment gives them. Have them link out to their existing career tool and use those tools, continue to use those tools that are working for them. And so then just lastly, and then we'll pause, the advantage to being content forward like this is that it allows us to very quickly respond to changing environments. So example, when COVID hit, a bunch of our clients all said, oh, we need to write, how do I apply for unemployment insurance outcomes? So we need to connect to services and resources outcomes. And as fast as anyone can write the instructions, we can get them out to the people. So we don't have to do another procurement or wait for software engineers to build another feature or whatever. We can just write the content and configure the links and then get it out really quickly. So I'll stop there. I got my 10-minute orders from Eric.
Very good too. All right. That's awesome. Well, so Alli, I want to dig in here a little bit, and Michael, feel free to jump in as well. But make this a little more real for us. Who are the clients and customers that you would use this with? And can you give us some sample use cases? What does this actually look like in practice?
Sure. So good segue. Sample implementations. I actually have a slide on that. So in practice, we have states that use our product, post-secondary institutions, and K-12 districts. And so, for example, with regard to post-secondary, SEI, which owns Strayer and Capella, they are using our product as the students' career exploration interface with the kind of career center, all the career activities they do, so that their career coaches can give them instructions inside that content that is in their context, clear for them, step by step. Here's how you do the resume. Here's how you do your networking. Here's how you do your interview prep, and walking them through it rather than having them to try to figure out which link to click on and when to click on it and all that. So that's one example. I didn't realize there were going to be 3 of those. Okay, another one is, for example, the state of Virginia uses our product, and they have this crazy ecosystem of technology, like I showed you up front, and they use our system to protect or shield their residents from it, and they use it to help residents get all of their different WIOA benefits. So they ask their intake questions are like about the WIOA disabilities or the WIOA barriers, and the system gives them referrals. You may be eligible for Title IV benefits. Here's the paperwork you need. Here's where to go. Here's who to call. Here's what to bring, so that those people can go one time to apply for those benefits instead of having, not the right paperwork, or they don't know, all the things they need to know. So they're super focused on adults. And then relatedly, Colorado they started off really focused on high school kids and helping. There's a piece of legislation in Colorado called ICAP, Individual Career and Academic Planning, where lots of states have this, where every high school person has to interact with adults in their school about their future. And so they started by saying find Colorado Applies Month that I showed you that outcome, or the Find a Career I Will Love, and help the kids figure out what are my options. But then very quickly, when something gets out there and it's working, well, now the Department of Human Services wants in, and they want to write one called Connect Me to Services and Resources. And now the Department of Voc Rehab says I could serve my clients with that. And so it tends to spread to new use cases when it gets to be useful. Michael, anything to add?
Yeah, maybe, you know, to make it a bit relevant to the time that we're in, and probably everybody on the call has known someone that has been displaced, lost their job due to COVID. And if you think about what happens in that moment, all that's happening with that individual, they're dealing with the emotional issues of losing their job, right? And there are resources out there to help them. But where do you find them? They need to file for unemployment, likely. They might need some financial assistance. They probably need to do an evaluation of their skills and how do those skills apply to jobs that are in demand in the midst of a pandemic. How do I figure out what training I need to get those jobs? What resources are available for me? What professionals are out there that could possibly help me? It's a million questions. But for an individual, they're all in one cup, right? They're all in that one thing, kind of rolling around together. But digitally, organizationally, structurally, none of those things are related in the world of even a post-secondary institution or a state. They're all in different agencies, departments, and different tools. What we do is we basically say, hey, these are all ingredients for the same recipe, and these are the steps to be able to follow and deal with all of those different things. We can even plug in personal reflection to, hey, now is a good time to think about the stuff that you just read, and this is a way to think about it. And so we can make sense of this myriad disconnected things for any process for anybody. And that's just one simple example. There is not a complex series of tasks or tools or forms that we can't make greater sense of. So when that individual will go speak to a professional who can help them, that conversation begins much further down the journey rather than at the most basics of, hey, what is the outcome that you want?
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned a lot of the folks on this today are advocates of some kind, and you mentioned that this trying to do this on their own would require everybody to get on board and share budgets and all that. How do you all work across agencies then? If you're an advocate, who do you need to get on board with this? Do you need to have a single budget? Do you have to have all the agencies aligned in mission? What is it going to take?
Alli, why don't you take that, our government change management expert. She reorganized the FBI after 9/11. She can help you with this. So.
Well, in our case, we've designed it so that you just need to find a starting point. I mean, we have some states that want to spend 2 years creating a multi-agency committee and getting everyone aligned. And depending on the community, that can work. That some communities require that. But we found it can actually be a lot more powerful to just find a starting point and find a place where there's 1 or 2 or 3 visionary people that have a messy problem that they have the ability to clean up, and do a pilot and set it up with a small, like we started in Virginia, for example, in one workforce region that was rural and didn't have a ton of complexity to it. And so then get that going and use that data and proof point then to show other people, look how much simpler it is, look how much more benefits we're getting to people. And then it will grow from there. So two ways to come at it.
And Michael, you mentioned this in the context of COVID. Certainly, I think everybody can see the relevancy there. How long does this take to implement then? Is this a solution that could be in place next year when state economies are really crashing?
Well, actually, the beauty of this is since it integrates all these systems, but you can begin at a content level, we could roll out even a statewide solution in 60 to 90 days through the discovery period, the building of the content, et cetera. We can do things in stages. Even for smaller organizations, we can do it even quicker. So we can do it in stages of let's discover the content that you want for the audiences that you want. Let's either reuse content that we have and tools that we have and modify them, or create, specific content for how you're trying to serve them. And then through time, you could do deeper integrations. That's what happened in Virginia. We rolled out for a particular purpose, and there were other agencies that said, hey, well, we have our own thing, we're not interested, until they saw it. And then they said, well, it'd be easier if you did single sign-on. So we built that. It'd be easier if we transferred this data between each other. So we did that. Now, next thing you know, we have 6 different groups, including the community college system on the thing in like 6 months. So.
And I assume you can do this in a municipality. It doesn't just have to be at the state level.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Municipalities are great places to roll out. They have their own processes. They have their own budgets. They have their own programs of how they want to serve the people in their area. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a boil the ocean solution. You can basically say, hey, let's roll this out and automate this process and simplify that. And then, prove the value of it. We love that. We love the opportunity to be able to kind of prove what the system can do at a small scale. And then we never even get through the pilot before these folks have already, kind of said, let's make it big. So
another use case that we have right now in municipality or in a district is Baltimore Public Schools. We're in the process of clarifying and automating their ICAP, their post-secondary planning off of 38,000 PDFs, each student having their own PDF that they're supposed to track for 4 years and figure out how to get it back and forth to their teacher, et cetera. But now we're putting all that into outcomes, goals, and steps. So it'll make it a lot easier for them. They
had resorted to manage online PDFs in lieu of their Navient solution. And so we're now automating a thing. They still have Navients, but they just didn't like that feature. And so they built their own until they found us.
That's really cool. Okay. Q&A from the audience. Who's got a question? You will have to unmute yourself. Yeah, Amy.
Hi, thank you so much, one, for featuring this, Eric, and America Succeeds, but also thanks, Alli and Michael, for doing the work and then presenting it. My question is all about the data trust piece of this. I used to do a whole lot of work and still do around data. And one of the biggest issues is about getting government data systems to be able to link and be shared and to deal with all the privacy laws, but more importantly, all the turf issues. And this really is a people issue of getting people to want to, share power, which is what sharing data is. And I'd love to hear just how that simple little box called data trust that looks so neat and contained on your graphic, how's that actually working and how are you doing that?
So we have the abilities, if you already have data trusts in place in a state, and some folks have been working on this for a time where they've navigated the political and the territorial battles to be able to do that. Then if you've got the trusts in place, which is really the legal and the data sharing framework, we have the technology to be able to integrate that. If you don't have those data trusts in place, then we have a partner called Bright Hive that specializes in data trusts. They work in numerous organizations across the nation. We natively integrate. We were the first application to integrate with the Bright Hive Data Trust. And so they're an option if you need someone to help you navigate the political and legal frameworks. We would prefer to be we can do the integrations in that, but they have a system that allows you to actually create a master client index and to be the intermediary between the different agencies, so that the agencies aren't actually storing that user account information. And so they're not taking responsibility for any individual agency's other user account information. There's a central client index that does that in a secure way.
Can I ask a follow-up question, Eric, to be obnoxious?
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So in your take, if you're looking at the market, what percentage of the market do you think is ready and has data trust in place that you think is viable for working with you?
Well, I don't think data trusts are required to work with us because we can go into a single agency without other agencies being on board and just say we can overlay, we can be the interface for your ETPL database, right? We can be the workflow to then connect. Some states, if you look at a lot of states, we've done an analysis of just about every one of them, they have really link farms. They have portals that are just lists of URLs. Like if you, here's 20 resources to take assessments to determine your skills. And they're mostly sent you to Career One Stop or to ONET or Department of Labor sites, et cetera. And it's just really confusing in the, we call them cul-de-sac apps, because the user is responsible to go there by themselves, and then to get back to the website, they have to turn around and come back on their own. They have to determine all the reasons why they want to use this information and how to prioritize it. What we do is we can take those, in fact, we did a webinar 2 days ago. We can take those kind of portals and put them in a workflow, and none of that requires a data trust whatsoever. It just requires logic to personalize the experience. And so we can start there. And honestly, every state, every post-secondary institution, and just about every school district has something like that, that is just a whole bunch of lists of resources that make no sense to anybody. So yeah, I'd say there's huge amount of, I'd say every state has one somewhere that we could automate and then build that trust. And then start working on the data trust. It is, I would say probably 10 states are doing pretty good work on data trust right now. The rest of them are dreaming about it or arguing about it.
Thank you.
Is that your assessment, Amy? Do you think that's probably about right? Or do you think that's generous?
No, I think it's true. And I just, this isn't my webinar, but I'll give my 2 cents. I also think that, the part that government struggles the most with, there's been such progress made around data and the collection of data and the analysis in the last 10 years, especially in education. And yet where it continues to fall short is in the platform and the visualization and getting people that last mile delivery, which is what you all are doing so beautifully, of actually making data quality information, which means it's actionable, it's tailored to the user, it's timely, and it's reliable, right? Things that government has really stunk at, as we're right now arguing about how fast we can get test scores back. And that's, you just don't turn around information in a way that's usable to people. And I think that more and more this focus on governance and the P20W piece is just, again, people are realizing they need to focus on it, because the most important questions require data to be drawn from multiple silos that have never talked to each other before, because the people live in different buildings. So I just really applaud what you all are doing, because the more that we can show these use cases and show people what's possible, and then remind them that all this information is sitting in their own little silos, and they just need to figure out how do they connect it to get people the information they need and deserve and have never had. So I think showing people things, what I always found with governors and chiefs is the minute you can show someone that, they're like, that's what I want. How do I get it? And that's the beauty. You all have now created the picture of, we can show you this, and then people can do it. So I'll show you.
One real quick thing about that is that problem is even not just across agencies, but down into just career information, basic career information. You'll go into one state and they'll have MC data and Burning Glass data and data they collected themselves and ONET data, and they're all in different tools. We took that into account as well. So we built, with our IO psychologists and our engineering team, an intelligent hierarchical algorithm set that will allow us to plug in multiple data sets and completely insulate the user from which data we're using. So if you go to a career tool and Burning Glass data is available down to a zip code level, you'll see that data. But if we go into a rural area where there is no data, it'll use state or national data, possibly from a completely different source, but the user has no idea that we've switched to 8 different data sources in the same application. And we think that's really, really important, because most often the place where people get confused is when there's contrary data from different types of applications. Here's 5 assessments that will tell you what your career path should be, and they all give you different information, which is problematic.
I think we've got time for one more question if somebody wants to jump in.
Just going to say that I get excited looking at this, thinking about the possibilities of making education more agile, thinking about a student logging into an interface like this, taking a quick assessment, then being directed to, here are all the gaps in your education. Here are all the skills that you might be missing. Click on one and explore how to fill these holes. I click on information about, whatever it is that I might be missing in my education, and up pops a menu of all these different lessons from all over the place that will help fill some of these gaping holes. Or perhaps here's your transcript. Here are the things that you're missing. What classes might you want to take advantage of? Here are a list of classes that the school is offering that could fill these holes or plug these gaps. Do you want to meet the teachers? Click this link and go to the teacher profile. I get excited looking at this, thinking just about how agile education and school districts can be if they utilize a resource like this, how much time and effort it would take away from coaches or advisors in even building a student schedule. If I'm a student and I have the ability to go in and look at my transcript and be able to create my own schedule based on the things that are interesting to me, based on the options I have, that creates a choice that was never given before. And I think that is what seems amazing to me. A different way to look at it for use in education.
I'm just going to shut up because I thank you.
You're hired. You're hired.
I got nothing to say.
You want to be a product manager on our team?
Yeah, exactly. That we can't beat that. That's exactly the enthusiasm we hope this created. We will be here for the next several Tuesdays. We're going to take Election Day off, but otherwise we'll be here Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. We've got Guru and some things they're doing in North Carolina coming up. We've got EDventure. We'll be coming back the week after Election Day with Microsoft. And next week we will be back, America Succeeds, to talk about our latest report that we put out. So thank you all for attending. Really love this, and look forward to seeing you soon.